spot.
Oh,
We are live. Welcome to the Turaco Creative Cast. This is Frank Salazar, aka Captain Goggles, and we have a special guest today, Storytelling Ron, and he's going to tell us about his awesome RPG called For the Lord RPG. We're going to learn more about that. We're also going to talk about a few other things about role-playing games and things like that, and creativity. Just the stuff that we talk about on this channel.
yeah.
So you can find me at Salazar Art Nation and also on Turaco Creative Cast. There are links in the description to my stuff and to Ron's stuff, and I do have in the comments for his Kickstarter for the Lord RPG Kickstarter that launched this month, and you're still able to get a back that. So it's a little bit about me. Ron, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so first, the Kickstarter is going. It's fully funded. And I have it. It's free. I'm offering For the Lord RPG, on my website for free, the PDF, and I'll have a final version after the Kickstarter as well. I'm also offering the tokens, the assets, like everything you need for free to play, especially with your family, your like homeschool group or your church group or whatever. And it's the Dark Ages setting, 6th century Italy.
Yes.
You play a missionary, and this is to me is the unique thing about this Christian role-playing game is that you play a missionary and you're going to plant churches in the villages and in the areas. So you're evangelizing in a light, fun way, and you're it's different from other role-playing games. Role-playing games, the term role-playing games, or the game concept of role-playing games, is a neutral term, right? It can be role-playing game, The Bowling Alley, or pastoring a church role-playing game, or it can be I'm a witch role-playing game. It can be any, whatever you bring to it is whatever game design or setting. And the problem with Christians is that we think it's all Dungeons and Dragons. We think it's all fantasy. And you're obviously aware that I've done videos saying that it's okay to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's why I actually felt 6 months ago to 3 months ago, but I've changed my mind. And I've changed my mind though for I guess a different reason. Not because of the game itself, but because of how it's getting woke. Everything is getting woke. Everything's pushing the LGBTQ agenda. You have they're pushing the gender ideology, and that's very anti-biblical, very anti-God, very anti-Christian, and I think very anti just common sense. But I'll be attacked for that. Whatever. So I am now against Dungeons and Dragons because of where it's gone. I am totally for role-playing games. I think we're missing out. This is a mission field for Christians, a huge mission field for Christians, and I'm really pushing that now. I tried not to push that, but we're getting sorted today. It's obvious in the culture and in the entertainment world, and everything I flip to. We are being told what to believe, and it is very anti-Christian. So, well, might as well just sort ourselves. If they're going to sort us, might as well sort ourselves. And
that's right.
Role-playing games is a huge exploding culture, and kids are flocking to it because God gave us the gift of telling stories. We all want to be creative. You want to be creative. I want to be creative. Everyone wants to be creative. Our kids want to be creative, and role-playing games lure them away from the church, since there is no Christian role-playing game. There are Christian role-playing games, and I'll get to that too. But mine is unique that you play a missionary. You don't. Most role-playing games and this is fine. I'm not against it, but most of them are about doing good works, good versus evil. This you side with the good gods or the good values, and then you go fight the evil gods or the bad values, and then you're a hero. But in this, the goal is to plant churches, is to confront people that are doing evil in the pagan world, to expose what is paganism, what is those beliefs, to make the kids, your kids think about it, make your kids react to them, and you play I get to play the pagans. I get to play, what's wrong with slavery? What's wrong with sacrificing? What's wrong with, so what? That's what we do. That's what we, what's wrong with gladiators and entertain ourselves by killing, having them kill each other. And what's wrong with that? Then you got to get the kids to go, well, there is something wrong with that, and so that's that's the thing I'm after with my For the Lord RPG. But I'm going to let you talk for a little bit because I think I gave you a good intro there.
That's good. Yeah, and I do agree. I never played Dungeons and Dragons, so I started looking more into it because I kind of want to make something similar, not exactly a role playing game, but something with the same mechanics. So I was doing a lot of research, which I talked to you about, just looking into things, and I was getting a lot of pushback from Christians and some brothers from churches and just Christians in general, saying, "Oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons and it's witchcraft," but they wouldn't explain why. And then I looked more into the mechanics, like, well, it's witchcraft if you want it to be witchcraft. This is pretty much what I got out of it. And then I found your videos talking about, they do a Christian version. Like, yeah, that's right. Why can't we? And so yeah, so that's how I got into it. And I was trying to see, well, maybe if I can find a game where I can play. If not, then just doing something similar. And then like recently, like with the whole WotC and Hasbro, and then I did start seeing like a lot of stuff you were talking about, stuff being pushed in there and changed, and that even if you wanted to do your own version, if you did, I think like on their platform or something, like you will get a lot of pushback, like, no, you can't change this, you have to include this, and like I was like, a lot of mandatory rules where that you don't really have to. It's just like you're just playing pretend. So, but yeah.
Well, Dungeons and Dragons and the 5e system that they use, the game system, doesn't matter. You don't need it, and so if say you decided to do a 5e, which is their game system, a role playing game system, the latest version, 5th edition. Yes. If you use that, then you're sort of introducing your kids to that, and they're going to go want to check out the other 5e games. Okay. And they're all kind of pushing now that like Disney, like Marvel, like everything else.
I've seen that too.
Yeah. They're shifting to the secular, humanist, pagan, worldly side, whatever. And so I just the game I made is very simple. It's only 10 pages or less of rules, and I encourage just flubbing it as you go along and play the game, and make up stuff that you need to just to fill in and play along.
A whole bunch of dice so I can play a game.
Yeah, that's the only thing other than my game that you need to purchase to use my game system. You will have to, you can draw out your own little tokens. You can draw out your own little map pieces, or you can use the ones that I have on the website. You can download and print them out. They're printer friendly, and you can cut those out. And I keep the game simple. You can use the little paper tokens as your characters, and you can use those little printout pieces of a village huts and forest pieces, or just do your own. And in my game, the ranges, and is all loosey goosey. Just does it look like it's short? Fine, it's short. You can move that distance. Just kind of just play it that way. So that it's not you don't need all these measuring tape or templates or anything like that. The game.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I don't need to break out my ruler and like, okay,
it's not. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. And like one simple version, like in most of the games, you have initiative, and it's very like, okay, we all roll dice, see who goes first. You roll, you add up your how fast you are and who, and all those stats. In mine, just do it narratively. Who do you think would go first? Would the little scrappy cultist go first with their little dagger, or would your character go first? Just play it out and favor the players if they want in the game. Let them go first. If they're excited, let them go first. I just let it loosey goosey and it plays out fine. It's more about the narrative of everyone telling a story together, and even I call it the Grand Minister or the GM, but in role-playing games, you have a game master who sets up the villains, the bad guys, the village, and plays all those characters that the players all encounter. And I make it's very loose. I want it to be more narrative and fun and silly than like a version of wargaming on the table with measurements and buying miniatures and being expensive and all.
Yeah, I do like the paper minis, and that's something that I was trying to implement on my own. Well, I'm still trying to figure out if I wanted specifically like an RPG or like a board game with RPG elements.
Yeah.
But looking at maps and tokens, so I do have like little stuff that I've made, and I looked at your stuff. Like, hey, this is pretty good. It's kind of similar to something I want to do. For mine, I kind of want to have like a set story, little path, and from there you just build on, or I can add on more missions. But yeah, I was interested in yours, and I was looking at some of the test plays, and it looks just like it looks fun. Even just starting out, I think I saw the first one, and I skipped around a few. But just starting out, like I think it was like the rich benefactor, and then the
patron lady,
the monks and stuff, like interacting and things. And it was just, man, it's just a fun game. I want to like I want to play this. So I did download all the free stuff. I am gonna back the physical book because I like to have that physical book as well.
Yeah, and that's optional. I got one here. It's just for the fun of it. Just a nice little print version that you can put down. And this one will come out late. This one will come out later when I finalize it, it's pretty close. I just want to go in and clean it up. And I've been and as I continually play test, so I have all these shows that I put on YouTube and these are all Christian actors playing it, and most of them, about 95% of them, which is out of 10 or how many I ever have, a dozen, they've never played a role-playing game. They don't even know what RPG means. So that's how easy it is for them to get into this game within minutes and play the game. It's very, as the minister, you should know all the rules, which is 10 pages, and then you should practice it a little bit, but then improvise and act out all the villains and guards and bandits and encounters that they might have in 6th century Italy. But it's very quick for a fam. I want a family to be able to sit down and play this game within a few minutes. And it's a role playing game. It's it's in depth. So like you can the sons can play a warrior or a monk or cleric. And this is I consider this, and my church even argues this, that this is pre-Catholic. This is like the early church around 6th century. The teachings were definitely more in line with just Protestant Christians than it was with the Catholic Church, because the Catholic doctrine really didn't get full speed until 1000 AD or later.
Yes.
So around 6th century, 600 AD, it was still very just Christian, Protestant, pastor planning churches kind of thing. And so you can play a warrior or a cleric, and the girls can play a nun, but it's like a, pre-Catholic nun or a patron lady. And I separate that out. There's male and I only have 2 genders in this game. I'm sorry. I've only got, I'm very limited and primitive that way. I've only got 2 genders in this game, male and female. And they do have their rules. In this game, the women cannot run around wielding battle axes. Okay, that's just not going to happen. It's not. I know we all want to be heroes, but for the women, being a hero doesn't mean acting like a man. And being a hero, a woman, and it means pushing the abilities and skills and inherent traits of a woman to their fullest. And that's very different from a man. So I've put in rules like that so that it actually means something. For what a man does and what a woman does in the game.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I apologize to all that are offended by
that. my co-host who could make it, Anna Raub, became masculine, so she is very much into martial arts, and I see you have battle armor, so she does stuff like that. So she would say like, "Hey, I can fight better than a man." But I do know what you're saying, like back then in the time. So I didn't want to say that because I know she was gonna comment like, "Hey, what's this? Who did you have on the show?" Like, it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I will have that debate with her, but whatever. But a woman training and hard and all is fine, but men and women are different. Physically, we're different, and we should not be. It's offensive to me to throw men into the women's sport or women's fighting, and vice versa. So And in this game, again, women can do things like you can become an effective fighter, but you can't do it through like acting like a man. You know, they have crossbow. You can use it like the patron lady gets a crossbow, you know, little fancy little light crossbow, and she can become quite effective out of it. And the nun gets a pan. And she can use a frying pan.
Crossbow right there.
Right there, I say it. So they can do stuff like that, but they have other things that they can do as well.
Yeah, I did see the frying pan with the nun. I was like, that's hilarious. You would use whatever you have. At it too.
You know, with upgrading skills. Yeah. Right. So yeah, it's become now like the ministry or mission for me to do this because at first I did it just because I don't want to, you know, another woke thing that I have to, you know, walk on eggshells around, you know, when D&D was going that way. So, so then Before the Lord came about because of that. And now it's become like a mission. I'm on a mission because I'm finding that they're just, as much as they want to pretend they're open and tolerant, they're not. And, you know, the culture. And I don't want to draw my kids to the inevitability of what they're going to be told. They're going to be told to, put your Christian faith to the side and come play a role-playing game. And that's, so here's the thing. Christians are saying, don't play role-playing games. Christians that do play role-playing games are saying, don't put your faith into it because it's fantasy and fake or whatever. And the pagans agree with those Christians. The pagans absolutely agree and fully support what those two groups of Christians are saying. Don't bring your faith into the RPGs. And I'm saying it's time to bring our faith into RPGs. It's time to show that we can make an incredibly fun, cool game and draw some of them or some of our brothers and sisters out of there and into a role-playing game and it's fun too. It's not just, you know, you got to preach and do a sermon every time you play a game. You know, it's God knows we need rest. God, you know, he took a Sunday off. He's telling us we do need rest, and have fun. So it's you get to fight dragons, dinosaurs. You get to, you know, I'm a creation science dude. You get to fight dragons. You get to fight beasts. You get to fight giant beasts. You get to fight ogres, which are basically WWE wrestler, you know, pagan warriors with taking on drugs. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
I totally believe that yes, dinosaurs existed, and dinosaurs were the dragons
of the day.
People were taking.
And I bet you there's so many versions of dinosaurs that we don't even know about that were, you know, like think of all the dog breeds. So there was so many giant lizards back then that we're missing out on that existed post flood. That, you know, that were varieties across the dark ages of Europe, you know, creeping out in the forest and stuff. You know, that we got rid of because we don't like to have T-Rexes in the next valley over from us. You know. So I want the boys and the girls playing this game to feel they're fighting and going, you know, beating bad monsters and bad guys, and then rescue the town, the village. Convert them from their ways, their bad habits, and have some of that as well. Role playing, you know, planting of a church, and not that you're Christianizing everybody, but you're at least opening it up so that you could plant a church. And then that part of the game where they sort of Christianize the locals is more of a, you know, a role playing background that you did good, and now the clergy comes in and takes care of that, and you go on your next mission. You know,
so it's like Paul when he will go and start these churches and then he leaves someone in charge, like Timothy.
Go on to his next mission.
Like,
fighting snakes and
that's right. That's one thing that I hear a lot, that all Christians they should be just meek and passive, and I'm like, have you read the Bible? I was like Peter cut off the ear of a Roman soldier. It was Jesus after, like, hey, calm down, not yet.
yeah. Jesus said it, when I'm gone, you're going to need those swords. So, you know, our goal isn't, you know, and this is the thing I want to teach too, kids. They always say that Christians were violent in the past. Well, you're going into a village where they're sacrificing humans or they're enslaving the locals or whatever.
There's a reason for that.
Are they going to give that up peacefully? You know, and as I as the game master, am I going to play the villains, like, oh yeah, now that you clergy are here, we're going to give up all of our wealth through slavery and all of our wealth through selling our children off. Yeah, we're going to give that up because you make perfect sense. No, I as the villain is going to get my guards and we're going to go and attack you and kill you or get rid of you. And then that's where the fun of the adventure is. The players get to defend themselves against this confrontation and liberate the town or whatever village you're in. And then a big one. Here's an example of one of an ongoing adventure you would, as a minister, would create. I believe that the witches and the sorcerers back then used a lot of drugs, as in maybe on themselves, but on the pagans or on beasts. So they would, like Cocaine Bear's coming out this weekend. I'm really excited about that movie. But it's a great example of what they did in the past. I bet you they probably drugged out the boars or the bears, fed them whatever, and then unleashed them into the villages and terrorized them. There's that kind of thing, because they were all into poisons and love potions and all these type of manipulative concoctions back then that messed people up. And back then they were much closer to animals than we are today, as far as living with them or dealing with them.
Yeah, they were all around. They encountered them.
Livestock.
I'm sure they encountered them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You went in just a bear coming down and eating a bunch of kids.
Yeah. So you got to kill that bear, but then you probably, or you would use the bear to terrorize others, so that's part, and in the game too, I want to, you're going to make it more extreme. You're going to sort of push the myths and the folklore to their extremes for adventure, like one example is the barbarians would have a wolf culture, right? So they, just like in that movie, The Northman, they danced around the fire and they did their rituals as pagans, and the spirit of the wolf is upon them. So now they're all werewolves. They all act like, they got the costumes, their bloodlust, and they go attack, the village, or they attack your monastery, and you got to fight them off, and you're fighting off werewolves. So that's what that is. That's the sort of extremes of what I'm trying to show, not only in this role-playing game, but also look, this is what they did.
Yeah,
this is what Christians had to deal with.
More historical to a sense. I know it's not like an exact history, but
amalgam
elements.
Right. Yeah, like the Huns. I just read the Huns were considered to be born from witches in the swamps with demons. That's written by some of the Christian fathers because of how terrifying and horrible the Huns were. So I might extrapolate on that a little, and really push that, to it. But I want to ground it in reality. There's a source to that fear and power structure. There is demonic possession. There is demonic empowerment by those that continually use evil in the game. So they have like an extra strength, an extra bloodlust, an extra.
So something that I want to
on them. Go ahead. Yeah.
Something I want to ask. I get some of these comments from my Christian brothers that I love, but it's kind of hard to, like, when they say stuff like this, like, to take them seriously. But like, okay, so I have the dice. If I use my dice to roll, my witch character is gonna cast a spell. If I use it to roll a spell or whatever, am I doing witchcraft? Am I summoning demons? Am I summoning spells?
No. That's the answer. No, you're not.
Okay.
If you played Dungeons and Dragons and you played a warlock or a wizard, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I don't. Some people do, some Christians do, and you know what? Everyone has their range where they're comfortable or not comfortable with something.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm comfortable in a lot of uncomfortable places, and it doesn't bother me. It's not that it's just what's in your heart. What's your intent. What's your destructive ways? So if you're playing this game, and then, I mean, I don't know, if you go out and start doing stuff to manipulate people and control people, then I think you might have an issue. But if you're just playing a game where you're playing a role and having fun with it, I don't have a problem with it. but again, my problem is it's becoming right. Everything is political now for
Yes, you can't have
a game and without
yeah.
politics.
Yeah, you can't even like stand up for what you believe in. Back then, it was like, yeah, you gotta stand up for your rights and this and that, and like, well, I think men and women should marry, or I think maybe not kill my baby in the womb, or even now that you can kill it up to like 5 minutes after it's born.
Yeah.
So like, no, I'm not for that, and I shouldn't be called a Nazi or whatever because I have that belief.
Yeah.
But
They have at the LAX. They have a billboard as you come into California from the airport, and it says, "We are an abortion state," or I don't remember the exact wording, but it just declares right there that this California, we are. I'm not, but apparently, this tribe is a child sacrificing tribe. We are anyone in California, so they're just declaring it now. So, yeah, it's a proud thing now. It's a pride thing. Anyway, so I'll let you list the questions. Anything else?
How did you get involved in RPGs?
Just when I was a kid, like 8. I don't know, I was in elementary, and there was some middle school kids that were playing it, and then they were, when I played with them for a while, and it was so magical. But I was too goofy to fit in with them, so eventually I just left and did with my own friends. But yeah, since I was a kid, I've been role playing games.
I've been.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been interested in those type of games, Dungeons and Dragons, but I think like back there was like the Satanic Panic thing, and like I think there was like a movie Tom Hanks did, and there's like another TV movie that me and my mom watched where this. From what I remember, it looked like it was an older guy. It might have been Tom Hanks, I don't know, but it was like some older guy that used to play like in the sewers, Dungeons and Dragons, and he also hated his parents, so he used that as an excuse to go kill his parents. And this was fiction, but I think they were trying to like just push the Satanic Panic agenda a little bit more. And my mom just saw that and told me like, I don't want you playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like I've never played it. Like I won't. But later on, I'm like, well, why not? And what is wrong with it? So like, and every time I try to get into it, there were really at the time were really that many people where I could like find and form a group or anything. So I'm barely now getting like into the game.
I think this is my little conspiracy theory. Because I was back then, we only had a few channels. We had movies. I think that the movies and the TV shows were threatened by role playing games. I think they saw it as something that'll take away their viewers, and I think that they jumped onto that scare and really pushed that role playing games were evil and satanic. And back then, everyone had a Christian mindset or ethics, whether you were Christian or not. So you're going to use Satanic Panic as the calling card. And so I think they just made these movies and shows to kill the role playing game from growing, because it was a competition for them. And the TV evangelists were kind of all the ones that we knew. They jumped onto that because they jumped onto everything, and they were not. I don't consider them to be very Christian, but they just jumped onto everything, and and then that's all we knew. We didn't have no internet. We couldn't look it up. It was
we couldn't do our own research.
We were forced to. We were choke fed the information, and that's what the Satanic Panic was. And the only counter to that by the D&D was just bookstores, where the meager booksellers are like, oh, it's not that, but what I mean. That's to me where we all, I think, got that part of that big lie, and I think part of it was them not wanting role playing games to explode and counter there
was a
fan base.
How can you compete with free imagination? Like
good. That's a great way of saying it. Exactly, because after you buy the books, it's your imagination that takes over for the role. You homebrew most of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff is homebrewed, which means that I get the books, I figure out the rules, and then I create my own world, my own setting. Um, so I don't even need um, to buy more stuff. Technically.
Yeah.
Today, though, it's such an explosion. You can't stop it now because there's more access to information. So role playing games are exploding out there. But the Christians, we are handicapping ourselves. We're forcing ourselves to be handicapped. And that's, to me, sad because the rise. This is my little statistical, scientifically accurate line chart here. This is the rise of children leaving the church in the last 30, 40 years. Youth leaving the church. Here, this is that line. This is also the line for the rise of atheism. This is also the line in the last 34 years. There's also the rise of the acceptance of witchcraft in culture and pop culture. And this is also the line for the rise of the acceptance of role-playing games in the culture. But this line right here that you see is the Christians joining in, mission field in that area. There's no Christians. We're like stopping ourselves from going in there. So role-playing games is fellowship. It's edification. Yeah. It's group therapy. It's supportive. It's a storytelling together kind of thing. And there's no Christians. As far as our faith, as far as
yes, there's very like I had to look up, are there Christian RPGs, because I hadn't heard any.
Yeah.
And I think there was one. I think actually I only heard about it because you mentioned it on Facebook. I think it was like Dragon Raid.
And I don't know that much about it. I should probably. It was done back then too, back in the 80s. But
yeah, and it was like around. A Bible
it's
verse memorization game.
Or what I know of it, so I could be wrong.
It sounds like useful, but I don't see that appealing to a non-believer wanting to know more. It's like, well, I don't know the Bible, so to get even involved in your faith, I have to know the Bible first. Is apparently that's how I would see it if I didn't know anything. It's like, well, I have to study. I can't just go ask questions and figure it out.
I don't know that much about Dragon Raid, but I should probably get it since I mention it once in a while, but I don't really know that much about it. There are some others, but what I'm noticing about the other ones that I'm aware of is that they still want you to play like a pagan, in the sense of you still have to go fight evil with good and do good works, and then that's it. Whereas in my game, you're a missionary. You're actually trying to explain the gospel to these pagans and then plant a church. You're still, I still want you to have fun and have the adventure and do that. But you actually do use your faith in the game, and the mechanics are such that your faith comes into play to affect your adversaries. What you actually do as a Christian, and I created these simple game mechanics based on what I have read about the missionaries and how it played out back in in the 6th, 7th century, whatever, back in the Dark Ages. Okay. So you're actually using your faith to affect change in the game, as opposed to just fighting and then doing different spells and stuff like that. You're actually using your persuasion powers and your prayer and rebuking that affect the villains. So
yes, and I am assuming that there is a failure rate. You can't fail, because in real life, not everyone
exactly
is going to become a Christian.
Right. Yeah. You when you evangelize, some will succumb, but some will not, and you will fail too. And that's you could die, and that's part of the game. And I give them chances not to die, and then there isn't even a chance to see an angel. A nun can see an angel and help them out. So that's
cool.
Yeah, and it's just it's like a little blessing or a big blessing she could do. But I do say in the book, and I say it as a GM whenever we play, you are using prayer, you are using your faith, but the will of God is not necessarily your will to get something done. So you're not always going to succeed at what your prayer or what you're doing, right? That's God's will is not our will. So play the game, have fun, know that you can fail, but also know that you're striving for the Lord in the game, and you know, and still be silly and always be light. You know, let's have fun though. We are resting in this game. We're not churching, you know, lecturing, sermoning.
Yes, it doesn't have to be a Bible study every single time.
Yeah, and the game is not a Bible study. It's not. I'm making it a game. It's to be fun. I'm making fun of pagans, but I'm also making sure we make fun of Christians. You know, everyone is being. I'm personally making fun of everybody, and I'm hoping that the players will make fun of, you know, themselves and the pagans as well. So yeah, it's meant to be silly. And if you watch and on YouTube on my shows, that's what we do. We make fun of each other and you know, just have a good time laughing about it all.
Yes, I need to catch up. There's so many that I'm behind, but I need to catch up because some of well, I like this guy. Like, he's got a good sense of humor, and then like, oh, there's this new guy. Like, man, I gotta watch this. I did watch your video on the bestiaries, and I was like, yes, finally someone is addressing dragons and dinosaurs.
So yeah, you remember, separate them out. I'm doing a ton of them on just me yapping on the game and the tutorials and mechanics and all that, and ranting. And then there are the shows, which is a different playlist. So you can just watch the shows and not, you know, for entertainment purposes or whatever. So there is that. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just ranting. I'm putting out ranting videos just to. It's kind of I'm kind of, you know, my own little revelation in the last few months.
Okay, yeah.
With this change that I'm doing, you know, from
and I did notice that, so I was like, okay, that's good, and that's something that we do as Christians. We do adapt.
We evolve.
I was even, should I say evolve? Because I already know, like, well, we don't believe in evolution, Frank. Like, okay,
yeah.
But
I'm evolving. I'm evolving into a new species. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, I just Christian RPGs. I literally. I mean, I'm hyperbole right now, but I really don't want us to play the other role playing games, that all these ones that I have on my shelf. I want us to create a Christian role playing game culture that spreads, and that when we're at conventions and when we're at game stores, people are like, there's a you know, there's a table there with Christians playing a role playing game.
Yeah.
And they're having a blast. And to me, this is the most truest form of role playing. RPG, being a hero, is going into a village to self-sacrifice to save them, and then bring them the truth, you know, or the opportunity to get the truth. Yeah, that's like because being a hero in other role playing games, you're just trying to defeat the evil and get treasure and get stronger, and get more powerful. You know, that's what the whole goal of most role playing games is. Go into an area, figure out what's going on, fight the evil, you know, fight the bad guy or whoever, get the treasure, get the experience, gain levels, and repeat. You know? But in this one, you're trying to bring truth to the village and help them out, and risk your life to do it.
Okay. Is there a specific? I do like it. Like, there's nothing I could add to it because I like that. Is there a specific like dice system that you're using? Is it the D20?
Yeah, it's D20, just like Dungeons and Dragons, because I love rolling a D20, you know, 20-sided dice.
Yeah.
But it also has all the other dice: the 4-sided dice, the 6-sided, the 8-sided, the 10-sided, and the 12-sided dice. Yeah, all the different. So you got it's like $5 to $6 on Amazon to get a pack of those.
You can get a pretty good bundle for like
yeah,
$12 to $20.
Yeah,
and you get
a bag of them.
Actually, I love them. I did buy that because I went to look more into it, and you know, dice just look nice. They look fun. And I get the cheap plastic ones, but like, they look really cool. It's fun
to roll.
So I have dice galore.
Yeah, I wanted to always keep the rolling the natural. I got bad. I always wanted to keep that fun of the natural 20. When you roll a natural 20 on a 20-sided die, and everyone yells "Nat 20" because that's like the perfect, you know, double damage, critical hit, super success roll. And the nat one, of course, natural one being the fumble.
Yes.
Complete failure, and everyone laughs and cracks up when somebody rolls a nat one. So, because they flubbed and are falling or whatever, and everyone's cracking up. And so I definitely wanted to keep that in the game, in my game. And it does feel like D&D. I wanted it to feel like D&D because I am a D&D as far as the my experience. Although I've played other role-playing games as well, but I really wanted when you're rolling dice, when you're playing the characters, when you're in combat fighting and taking damage, there's a sense, it feels like Dungeons and Dragons. It's very close as far as all that goes.
Is it? I'm still like learning a lot about it, but when you create your character, is it like the same thing? You roll I think the D6s or just like.
Yeah, I make it lots. You can make a character. I think the first character you make will take a few minutes to explain everything, but I suggest for a minister, the game master, to just give the players their characters and make them up themselves. And it only takes me a minute or two to make one character. I don't do all this background fluff and all the extra little things that a lot of role-playing games like to do these days, where they have a bunch of extra info.
Backstories.
Just very simple. You're a young kid, you give the little stats for strength and fighting stuff, and then give them the main thing is gear. Right, you got to write down their armor and gear and weapons. And it's all there on a list for you, right there in a couple pages. And then same with the nun, the patron lady. So it's really quick to make a character. Here's the thing that is about mine though. It's concerning skills. Like if you have different skills, I don't have a list. You make up whatever you want. I want to climb trees. Okay, you can climb trees. And then just buy your experience points. Climbing trees plus D4. And we do the way to increase your skills. I'm going on into the weeds here, but the way to increase your skills is D4 for climb tree plus D4, and then if you get experience points after successfully doing something, you can buy a new climb tree skill, upgrade, and you get plus D6. Then you go to plus D8. Go to plus D10. So you'll have a better range of succeeding at climbing the tree, but it's always there's always that chance you're going to roll that one, just a 1 as opposed to a 6 or 8 or whatever. And so you can come up with, I want a smith, I want to play the lute. I want to and influence people with the lute. I want to do poetry. I want to do boating. You just come up with your own skills and then progress with those on your, as you get experience.
So you can do a bug catching skill, which can come in handy. A bug catching skill.
Yeah, there you go.
Which can come in handy. Like, hey, there's no tavern in sight. We're hungry.
Catch bugs.
I've actually I did a video on this channel. We did a challenge where we ate some bugs, but we actually turned it into like just talking about how this is something that you can do. It's like my co-host Anna, she does do stuff like that, like survival and things like that. So she prepared this whole spread. But people thought I was just doing like this gross out challenge. No, we actually want to do this and talk a little bit more about it. And she knows a whole lot more about how to catch and prepare when you're out there. And she had to do it on her own because she was in a situation like that. So that's why that comes to the.
Guess you can be like John. John eating crickets or eating grasshoppers.
Well, she one of her meals that she prepared was like grasshoppers and honey. So it was like locusts and honey.
Right. So you have catch locust plus D6 skill. Whenever you want to do it, you roll, and if you roll really high, you roll the D20 plus the D6 plus your. I would say for catching bugs, I would give it aggression because you got to be aggressive. So, and then if you roll 12, and in my game, to keep it simple, especially if you play with kids, you just have to roll above a 12 to do anything. There are rules to change that around, but if you're just playing with kids, 12. So when they get that, so you roll a D20, you got to beat a 12 to succeed. So you'll add up your whatever your traits your trait is for it, and then any skills bonuses you have. So if you're playing with kids, but if you play like a real bunch of players, then that 12 is going to move around based on the different having a shield, or it's really rainy or whatever. You change the number a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. It's something I want to do with my kids, and I had bought the D&D Essentials kit because from what I was looking into, it pretty much had everything you needed, and it could be just that story.
Right.
And I think you didn't need to have like so many people. Like someone can play like 2-3 characters if they want. And this sounds like something like I could learn from and teach my kids. And then the whole OGL and WotC and Hasbro, so I held off on that, and then finally I bought it, but now it's like all this other stuff's coming out. I was like, I don't know, but I just kind of want to learn into like I want to learn like how to play it so I can hack it and make my own.
Yeah, you can. Well, yeah, okay. There's that. Yeah.
Like learn the basic systems of it. People were saying, "Oh yeah, well, I rolled a D8," and like, "Oh yes, you did," so I can know the lingo.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah. If you want to, well, it sounds to me, and now we're going to talk about you here. It sounds to me like you want to do a board game with a little bit of role playing game elements.
Yes, that's
because you should look into that, the board game, and like the board game cult. And I don't, if you want to do a role playing game, that's fine. But the board game culture, because you mentioned it, it's pretty big on Kickstarter too, where people create the board games that a lot of tokens and pieces, and you said like a linear story, so that you go through a specific pathway on a board with your tokens, and you get cards that have different encounters or effects or challenges or whatever. So I don't know. That's an option too, since you brought that up. But because role playing games
is something I wasn't sure. Like I like both elements, but I did kind of want to just combine it a little bit.
But if you wanted to do a role playing game, like mine, if you learn my system, I'm happy. I haven't figured it out yet, but I want to do an open license where anyone can take the For the Lord RPG and then create their own setting. So I don't have a problem with that either, as long as it's Christian. The Christian adherence is relatively close. 8 out of 10 or something like that for us. But
I do have a Christian character. I make comics, indie comics, and it's just been trying to get some of those out. So I do have a character that is faith-based called Captain Courage, and the way I have him, he's kind of like Captain America, with a little bit of a Bible man mixed in. not too cheesy, but he got carried. He has a cross on his chest, so he's pretty open about it. He doesn't hide it, and from the World War I, World War II era, gets kind of transported in time because it's part of his tech. So having that in a more modern setting, but I've been like thinking of doing I can do that as a very
role-playing game?
just role-playing game, or just have that, because I think that would fit the For the Lord the style. But and since he does, I do give him like time travel, or at least to a point. I didn't want it to be like, oh, it's here and here and here. I did do a story for an anthology, which is out of print, but I have the PDF, where he ends up in it's a story. So he ends up in Bethlehem and gets to go see the baby Jesus, but it was just for him to go witness it. And an angel appears and says, we wanted you to see this for a reason, because you're going to be going through some stuff and you're having doubts. But I'm going to send you back, because one of my things where I don't want him just jumping back and forth. He can only go forward, but if there's mishaps, maybe he can go back. So I'm just trying to find a way how to do that. So having an angel there, we're going to do this once. We're going to send you forward in time because you got stuff to do. So I could totally do something like that with a role-playing game with Captain Courage.
Right. All right. Well, I suggest the first thing you do is play a lot of role-playing games. starting with mine, and
which I have the PDF. I'm trying to find people like, and I think this would be perfect for my Christian friends. Like, let's try this. It's not witchcraft.
Yeah, you should try. Maybe I'll have you jump in one of my game sessions and play a character, and you can just try it out with us and see how it feels.
Okay, that would be great. That's mostly been my issue, just trying to find where I could actually get involved.
Once you play, especially like with experienced players, and then you just get right, and then you get into the groove, and you go, oh, okay, this is how it works, and then you can take it from there, and the sky's the limit as far as like where you want to go with it. So, yeah, I can have you throw you into the gauntlet.
Sure, that'll be great.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Another aspect to we have a guest here, Christopher Runciman, which he is a great comic creator. I was watching his stream earlier. Sticking to a D12 is a very helpful suggestion.
Well, sticking to 12 being the not a D12, but 12 being the number to beat.
The number for the
yeah, it's 12 is just for kids. That's just so they roll D20 and plus any skills or whatever that they might have. They beat a 12. You typing?
Give me D12. No, I'm getting my dice. I have them in the little container. So this is a D12, and this is a D20. I just like the look of the D20s. That's good.
Yeah, those are dice right there. Dice right there in those boxes.
Oh, cool.
And they're cool sets of dice. And then I always have some dice sitting around.
Okay. I was looking for this one. I have this larger D20. So amber color. So I like it.
Yeah, big dice.
I like to hold it and carry it around. This is where someone was telling me like, "Oh, what's that, Frank?" Like, hey, that's a Dungeons and Dragons dice. That's witchcraft. Like it's a gaming dice.
Pagan crystals.
It's
crystal healing dice or crystal.
Yeah. I was like, it's just a dice. But yeah.
So now you can tell them, "Oh, I play for the Lord and RPG, so come check it out." But yeah, let's get you playing it and trying it out, and then it's just funny because when I had these Christian actors do it, they were just deer in the headlights, and then as soon as I got them to play and told them, I started acting out the bishop that told them about their mission. They immediately then they started playing. I basically start out each one as for a bishop just comes and tells them, "We've got you. We want you to go there to this village and check them out and plant a church. So go forth."
Okay.
Everyone join together and talk amongst yourselves, and then go forth and do it. And so the players do that, and it's fun. And it's new. It's such a new thing for me too. It's really new and exciting frontier because I've never DM'd or GM'd in my 45 years. This type of thing. I've never, I don't know how to GM a Christian missionary evangelist role-playing game, and I play the pagans, but I'm getting better at it. I'm learning. I'm definitely getting more and more into it, and figuring it out, and researching more and stuff. So it's been great.
Oh, it sounds like the best way to just get into the For the Lord RPG or any RPG when anyone's interested. But just
jump in, and make mistakes and just do it. That's the best way. Yeah. Even if, and this is a suggestion to everyone, do it, download it, try it out with your friends. Be stuck, be confused, it's fine. And the rules though are just for the game is right, that's less than that. It's some of this is making the character. The combat is a 2-page spread. This is the weapons and gear. That's just 2 pages. This is the combat and actions, and that's just 2 pages. It's all on 2 pages. And then this is
can you pick up weapons as you go along?
Yeah. You mean like you get from others?
Yeah.
and that's it. And then the next one is how faith and blessings work. So every page spread on this that you lay down in like 6 pages is the basic rules of what you need for the game, for role playing. It's that easy. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 plus years. This works. Now, one problem I have, I guess, is that because of my 40 years, maybe I fill in the gaps in my head. So I apologize, but I'm pretty sure you guys can fill in the gaps and just figure it out. You know, as you trial and error it. You got to trial and error. There's no other way of doing it.
Just like life.
I mean, read the manual, but other than that, trial and error.
So it is free if you just want to jump in. So they're on StorytellingRon, and there's the
free
link
section
there for
can you sign up though for it?
Which I did. I signed up. And
thank you. And you know, if you guys got a group together and you want to, and you're accessible to online, I know I can do a little run through for anybody, as long as it, you know. So just email me. But again, just to go for it. Just do it. You know, just get a couple of fools and play the game. You know, try and do it. Yeah,
that's good. It's something I need to get together. But yeah, I'll definitely be reading the rules. I thought you had to like have people, but yeah, I guess you can just read through it and do it.
Yeah, read through it. I mean, it's only the first 10 pages or less. Just familiarize yourself with all that. The rest of it is campaign, you know, adventure setting, the creatures, you know, just the concepts of paganism and the church and all that, or my view of all that. Okay, so
I did see some of your character designs of the cave people, and there's a guy that had like the skeleton deer skull thing. You can't see it, but I use it in the thumbnail, but your picture is covering it up. But I did use some of those people.
The horny ones. That's what paganism is. It's theatrics. It's costumes and garb and theatrics to get the people to live in fear, or you know, to submit or whatever. That's what magic is. It's theatrics, and that's what they used. You know, the Christians didn't need theatrics. We used just rebuking our faith and our prayers and rebuking and exhorting. And that's noted historically, that the Christian monks never needed anything but themselves to affect change in the community, whereas the pagans always needed theatrics. They always needed a show, costumes, their drugs, their fog machines, their disco lights. They needed to sell it.
Their smoke and mirrors to make you think. Ooh.
And that's the magic that I have in here, but it's even more extreme because part of the black magic of the game, and this is something that I mentioned, but you should also just realize is that when a witch casts a curse on you or inflicts pain on you with her voodoo black magic, she's blowing a powder at you, or you know what I mean, or she's putting something on you. So there's a drug poison.
It's something physical that she's doing to make you.
And then for her, that's magic, and she's saying evil words. And another magic too, which is similar to D&D, is that the witch will just cursing you, you know, and doing little, you know, and then that like is like magic to everybody because it feels like she's cursing you, and so you're affected by it psychologically, or you know, you can or certainly play it out as being a demonic influence upon people.
I was going to ask about that because I know you said demon possession can be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
as a Christian, Christians do not get possessed by demons, right? We don't get possessed because we have the Holy Spirit in us, so we don't have that fear. But non-believers can certainly be affected by that fear and by that influence, and that's in the game. You know, so you can have a big hulking villain that's demonic influence or demonic possessed.
Nice.
And, you got to go up against a big scary hulky person, and maybe they put on some horns to make themselves even scarier, so they look like a big old demon, you know, with furs and horns. And so this, you know, like the sky is the limit as far as the creativity in this game that can create monsters and demons and creatures, but they really do have a they're grounded in that reality and then theatrics. And I think that's even more powerful and more frightening than the fantasy tropes of demons and dragons and that were monsters. So
it
but I'm
sounds
really
like
excited about
it sounds
sorry,
like
I'm really excited about that. Sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, it sounds like creating an RPG is kind of like it's similar to making comics. You got storyboard, you got
Yeah.
do the story, and the way I do, I usually just like I run it with someone and to like, well, I want this is how I want Captain Goggles to kind of start off, and this is how it started with my friend Anna when we created Captain Goggles and Mask Woman. It was just like creating the world as we were talking about and building it, and that's where we kind of built the comic on, and that's something we're going to be doing on the side where we're going to role play our characters, but it's mostly just like acting them out on a like Tumblr or places like that where you're just kind of like typing it up, and from there just getting to, oh, this works, we can use this and we can use that. So that just sounds like that's what tabletop RPGs are, except you just have like a map or dice.
Yeah, to me, role playing games is so essential for my storytelling. When I write my books and stuff, I really I am so grounded in the role playing game thing because in the role playing games, as the minister, you set up the setting
Mm-hmm.
and the villains and the good guys and the victims and how that can play out, and that's exactly what a writer does too. But the writer then just makes up the story based on all those same pieces. And in a role playing game, you just have people play it out and see what happens and where the story is going to take you. But to me, as a storyteller who has written fantasy books, to me, it's the same experience. Whether you have players playing the characters, or you have the setting, and then you have your imagination play the characters. But I always feel like when I'm writing stories that those characters have taken on their own lives. They write their own dialogue in my head. I can tell. I feel like I'm transcribing, and I've heard other authors
Yes.
say this too. I feel like once I've got everything set up, and once I have all the characters, I feel like they come alive now in my mind. And I'm literally writing what they're saying, as opposed to me coming up with what they're saying. And that's very exciting when I do that. Thusly, when I'm game mastering, and we got players doing it, it's a little more. It feels exactly the same, except that I have other people laughing along with me when it happens, and having a good time. But it's the same experience. I'm listening to the characters, just like I am with my story writing. I'm listening to the characters come out with their own dialogue. But the big difference is we're all laughing.
Yes.
Whereas when I'm writing, I'm laughing by myself or whatever. But the feelings and emotions that I get are the same.
That's good.
Yeah.
You mentioned your fantasy books. You want to say the names so people can look them up?
Well, on Amazon, I have Alfred, The Boy Who Would Be King fantasy series, volumes 1 through 5. There's 5 books. They're very big and voluminous, I would say, voluminous. But they're very, very traditional fantasy, but I do have that Christian element building up in it, kind of thing. So I got to fess that up. And I do have a adult series, a zombie apocalypse, with a guy wearing armor in Hollywood, semi-autobiographical, because I fight zombies apparently in Hollywood. But anyway, it's sort of like it's a post-apocalyptic. It's a kind of a I'm kind of playing with eschatology, like end times with it, but I'm not trying to be that concrete about it. But it's a zombie apocalypse, and the dad is protecting his family and wearing armor and fighting. But that's very adult, very intense violence.
Okay, sounds good.
But
check it out. That does sound pretty interesting.
Yeah, and they're on Amazon. But anyway, what I do. Okay. Anything else, Captain Goggles?
Yeah, that's kind of how Captain Goggles is. Captain Goggles and Captain Courage, they both came. Me just putting on something silly, and then well, I can make a character. So with Captain Courage, that came. I volunteer at this ministry in church. It's veterans, but if you have like relatives that are veterans, you can join in. So one of the things that we were doing for a while before the pandemic put a kibosh on that was going to the hospitals, visiting kids, and I said, well, why don't we dress up as characters? And no one really wanted to do that except me, so I kind of took it upon my own. I bought a Power Ranger costume and modified it, and from there, I got away from the Power Ranger, but I created Captain Courage from there. So I will go in there and pray with the kids, and we give them gifts and stuff like that. And from there, you know what, this would be great as a comic. So I did make a few stories, and I made like a little zine that I can kind of pass out to kids. That one's kind of basic, just talking Bible scripture. But I do have some other stories I'm kind of working on where I don't want it to be just like preaching. It's like real world stuff. He battles things, has his issues. Sometimes talks Bible. Sometimes he has to punch a guy to get things across. And so it kind of came from that. And Captain Goggles is kind of like that, but with Captain Goggles, I have it more. It's more of the morals and the ethics of biblical living than just straight up him shouting Bible verses at people. So I try to find a good balance of mixing it in and just having a little message in there somewhere.
All right.
And I think that's it. I mean, I'm just gonna go another 2 hours, but
not gonna work on my stuff. I'm still working. Yeah.
Yeah. So got some.
Oh, one last pitch, I guess. One last pitch on my website. I am constantly, well, not right now, right after Kickstarter, that is. I'm going to be adding a lot of assets, and that's the annual membership. So on the Kickstarter, if you get the print version, plus you'll get, I think at 50, you get the $25 for the annual membership. But so there's that, but the annual membership I'm going to do for 40 normally. So that's the sale at the Kickstarter, and the annual membership is going to include a lot more adventures, a lot more tokens, and a lot more map pieces. And then it's also I'm doing a post-apocalyptic and a sci-fi one. I put a video up just now on my YouTube channel that goes through some of that and what all the stuff that I'm going to be throwing up there. And because we can do the same thing. Christian missionaries in the Dark Ages, any time period, any Dark Ages, and in a post-apocalyptic world, and in a sci-fi. And I explain in the video how it's Christian biblically adherent. And still works, and it's still full of all the crazy love things. Yeah, exactly. Christians in space and the apostles of the apocalypse. So.
Oh yeah, and I think that's very when you got the rapture coming, whether you believe in it or not, you're gonna have.
I'm pushing that back a little. That's probably the one, maybe. Heresy I'm doing. I'm just pushing it back a few hundred years for the
okay.
Hope y'all don't mind, but anyway. All right.
Thanks
for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, Ron, especially last minute. And we were like kind of like throwing out, what about this time? What about this time? What about now? And so I'm just glad you were able to come on. And
just sitting here working it, so I'm available.
You're right.
Okay. All
right. Everyone go check out let me just plug your stuff. Everyone go check out the Kickstarter. It is fully funded, but if you want to get a pretty cool printed copy, I'm going to be jumping on that pretty soon in a few days, just waiting for some money to come in. But
no worries.
But it is free. It's free, so you can get it, download it now on StorytellingRon.com and check it out. And if you like this video, share it out, tell your friends. Hopefully you're not too offended. That's stuff we said in the beginning, but
and I'll bug you. I'll bug you and have you jumping on a game or two or something.
Nice. Yes, that would be great. You can email or I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So
I'll have you play the witch.
Yeah, people can say I'm really into witchcraft. I got my crystal ball right here. Put on.
I'll have you play the villainous witch.
All right, thanks for coming on, Ramos.
See ya.
See you later. Next same Turaco channel, different Turaco time. See you later. Bye, everyone.